Is a biodiversity year modelled off Mount Eccles?
Not intentionally. The habitat is similar, I guess. But as I said, the restoration began looking at Von Gerard's painting, and the idea was to try and reproduce what was here originally. So there would be variations.
There's a bit more coastal influence here in vegetation because we're so close. Whereas Eccles just
and
has
Eccles
that,
is
it's a bit more surrounded by volcanic plains, although this is
lava flows
and more lava flow too, I guess.
Similar management problems, like with the koalas.
Oh yeah, huge issue. And when you think about it, because so much koala habitat has been cleared over the years, there just isn't the habitat left. There's not the corridors left.
Otherwise they'll eat themselves out at house and home, as you said.
Yeah, and there are local projects going on where they're trying to connect remnant patches with corridors. Yeah, but it is pretty challenging to be able to do that. Maybe I'll do a check with Darren on that, but I'm pretty sure it's in the thousands, whereas here we're down to like 60 odd individuals. Yeah.
So and you reckon they could even go a little bit lower for it to be ideally sustainable in this? Okay.
So there's a Tower Hill is very much part of the people that will come along the Great Ocean Road. Visitors, international and state visitors that will come along the Ocean Road, if they have more time, they'll often come to Tower Hill. We're seeing more and more Brits vans, backpacker vans, coaches stop here, and there's also another sort of tourist route that comes through Warrnambool and then north to the Grampians, and a lot will stop here. And because it is such a perfect place to be able to see emus, kangaroos, koalas. So there's, I guess, as well, whilst we at a very fundamental level we have to look after the vegetation, but there is that balance of making sure there are animals here for people to see as well, because that's such a part of Tower Hill as well.
Would you actively promote the tourism and with the idea of then if there's more tourism and money coming into the park, then you need more than 5 people to manage it and you get some help?
That's a really lovely thought. I don't know whether it kind of works that way in the real world. Perhaps one day Parks Victoria have a system of what we call levels of service, and so every single park or reserve in the state is rated and has a ranking. So based on its level of service, it might say it needs X number of resources to manage that. So to increase the resources that we have to manage Tower Hill, we would need to look at increasing that level of service. So being able to kind of persuade the powers that be that Tower Hill is rated too low and it needs to come up the list. So that's probably how it works more so. But certainly, yes, increasing visitors does help, and we have surveys that are conducted every year that are done through an external body that come in and independently do that. So they will survey people here and they ask them, what do you like and what don't you like about Tower Hill and what needs improving. So we get that feedback every year. That goes back up through the system. So
is there no we were up at Hamilton a couple of weeks ago and saw the bandicoot enclosure they made up there. There's been no introduction of ground sort of species like quolls or bandicoots.
I'm not aware of. I don't think so. No, and part of the drawbacks with the early restoration. As good as it was at the time, there wasn't a lot of understory reintroduced. It was all tree species. So, there wasn't necessarily a lot of that natural habitat for ground-dwelling mammals to move into initially anyway. So,
well, even the enclosure for the bandicoots was, like 3 layers of chicken wire and buried in the ground and stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive, that kind of fencing.
10,000 bucks a kilometre. Electrified.
Serious stuff.
Yeah, big money.
Yeah.
Any further questions for Arthur?
I just wanted to ask about the EDC we talked about for the one from Marrickville. Do you know what's the name of that again?
Cindercone woodland is the main one here, and it is a endangered EVC, and Tower Hill, I think, makes up something like over 90% of that EVC across the state.
Yeah.
So again, this is one of the issues we have is Tower Hill's a benchmark. So where do we go from there? So it's.
But how do you reference it to something?
That's right.
20 years ago, was that the state of vegetation or 50 years
It's very
ago?
difficult.
Or,
It's very difficult.
yeah, we don't know what.
Well, it's not, no. And the thing is, Tower Hill and other areas like this, I mean, this side of Victoria has been cleared. You know, it's been enormous amounts of clearing. I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with Gippsland, for example. You know, there's so much more forest on that side of the state. This side has been severely cleared for pasture and cropping. And I think the classic is people always come here and they ask me if there's wombats here, and I say, there aren't any wombats here, and they say, and sometimes people get confused and they say, I saw a wombat here, and it was a koala walking across the picnic area. And I went, no, it's a koala. But there just isn't the habitat left for wombats, for example. So whereas they're quite plentiful over in Gippsland, you just don't see wombats on this side of the state. So.
It's kind of ironic because all the agricultural land in the southwest has benefited from volcanism, you know,
That's
from the
right,
fertility of
yeah.
the soils, yet nobody's really looking after the key remnant areas where that emanated from. We take, but sorry, that's human.
Okay, if there's no further questions, thanks Arthur for being so generous with your time.
No problem.